And I'm back again. And this time, go ahead. I just used the same sheet of paper again for this. This time around, I got my Sheaffer pens. Trying to think of which one's my oldest. I don't have them quite as old as the wall Oversized that I have. Let's see, what should I start with first? Let's probably go with the less common colors. So we got my balances. This is a Balance Junior. At first you might think this is the carmine color, but there are some silver striations and there are the little slivers that glow. And that's because this is what's called a rose glow. This isn't the best copy of it. However, I got this Balance Craftsman, which is a much better copy showing off that rose glow. And then this one's got a little monotone number 3 gold nib. And this one was in a trade, and I thought it was carmine. And then when I saw the striations, I was like, that's kind of weird. And my friend Paul kept telling me it was a rose glow. He even said it was a rose glow when I showed him the picture from the seller. And then when I got it, it was like, yep, you're right. It's rose glow. Rose glow. The junior model was nickel plated. So it's kind of a brass on the bottom and then silver on the top. And then when you see the gold coloring, that's the plating coming off. And this one you can say it's pretty peppered. And then of course you got the Craftsman, which is a slender long version. And if you had the shorter slender one, it would be called the, Miss Universe? I don't know where they came up with that name. But I think this is like the third tier of their balance model without the white dots and without the two-tone feather touch nib. And then I also got a matching pencil for the rose glow. This is a little more impressive than on the pen. I like how the balances have that little tapering on the end. And then let's see, next up, also a balance. This one's a vacuum fill. This one's a balanced standard size. And it's called Ebonized Pearl Flakes. And this barrel is actually transparent between the black stripes. And this one, not a white dot, so it's probably second tier, has a two-tone number 5 feather touch nib. And then the back fill has a little blind cap here, which has a little give. And you pull that back. If I let go halfway, it's gonna get some suction there. But if you go all the way out, and the air rushes in, we try to go get a good friction there. So if you push it all the way down and it gets to the end, that hits the opening in the front, allowing the air or water or ink to rush into the barrel, and then you can close it off. Put that over here, and then we go up another size. I'm gonna put this here for comparison. So you got slender, standard, and then now you got oversized. My oversized balance is 1930s or later because it's not quite as long as the original oversized, which was over 140 millimeters in length, and this is about 139. Get a nice big old lifetime 14 karat gold nib that I find to be probably semi-flex or something like that. Get some of the ink that got up on the cap lip. Kind of doing a little bit of leaking, well, not leaking, it's the pressure buildup. It's been cold lately, but I keep the pen upright, but probably got it up in the cap too real quick. Yep, there it is. Condensation can always get some ink into the cap, and then that brings the ink back down onto the grip. But yeah, nice big lever filler. This one is the only balance that I had that I did not restore myself. All of these were self-restored, including this nice big oversized and this marine green. This is one of my newest ones that I really like. And this one is actually inked right now with a color that I would say quite fitting for the pen. The Sheaffer Oversized balance. And there's a 14. I'm going to say it's a semi-flex. Fine. Okay, if we do our light hand, and regular pressure, and this is hardly any new pressure, and then you got lots of intentional pressure. The range isn't insane, but because it starts off at almost an extra fine, it looks more dramatic. And this is Mont Blanc Irish green. And it kind of does a backside writing too, but it's more like a an extra fine italic, because it does about a fine, extra fine downstroke, and more like a maybe extra fine on the cross stroke. But it's soft enough to do some cursive with it. So it's not scratchy at all on the backside, which is good. Then if we were to keep to around the same time period, 1930-ish, we have a Wasp, the Clipper. And this is also an oversized model. It's not quite as long at the points, but it's got the girth. So it's just got a thicker barrel. And we get the nib is not quite as big either, but they call it a number 7 size nib. But the grips are almost identical. And there's probably also a collar in here to help it fit a smaller size nib, because you can see there's no collar inside the balance, and then there is inside this, which I've noticed in some of my other pens too. But Wasp is actually a acronym for W.A. Sheaffer pen. That was a sub-brand of theirs. If I remember correctly, they used it to test the market before they started introducing those examples into their Sheaffer branded pen. So the vacuum fills were actually in the Wasp first before they became popular to put into the actual higher end Sheaffer pens. So this one got a nice semi-flux as well. Now if we move up to, so this is kind of transitional, kind of a weird thing. These are fine line pencils. The fine line pencil came out in the 1930s and existed until the 1940s. But the pen called fine line didn't exist until mid to late I think it was late 40s. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I do like the design of this, and there's actually advertisements that would pair the fine line with the Sheaffer Triumph, even though they don't quite look the same. Sheaffer Triumph is a 1940 pen, and I actually found a pencil that looks very close to the Triumph. Same cap band and such. Definitely not a Snorkel or a touchdown pencil. And the reason this is the Triumph is because it's the first pen that they made that had the Triumph nib, which is that conical wraparound. And fun thing about the Triumph pen is the grip is actually threaded into the barrel, so other than the threading being cemented in by old ink, it's actually rather easy to restore, assuming you don't have to break down the old ink. Then you just go right there. Yeah, it's the stack here. You can kind of just put that back in and tighten that down. And if you're lucky, you can get the lever lined up with the nib. This has a visual aided section just like some of my other pens. And this grip is going to be celluloid. Whenever you can see through it, it's not hard rubber. And as a result, you can't use a PVC second, you can only use latex or silicone. And in a pen like this, latex is just a lot easier to deal with. It has the most benefits, it's more responsive, it's more pliable, but you do have to change out latex every 5 to 10 years before they rupture, or about the time they do rupture. This one's got a medium point nib, and it does a cursive italic on the back side. It's kind of one of my favorite workhorses when it comes to a medium point or larger. And I even got it lined up with the clip. Of course, I had to force the metal thread ring just in the right position. Otherwise, I could not get that to line right up. You don't have to do it, but I like the fact that I could get that to line up. And if we go up one more, we have a Touchdown Sentinel Deluxe. Sentinel Deluxe just means metal cap, white dot, Triumph nib, two-tone gold. And on this one is when I started messing with the pneumatic fillers. The idea being is that you undo the blind cap, pull the rod out, and then you would dip the ink, and you press down on that, and then that would cause the sac to collapse, and then when the air releases through the hole, the sac would slowly expand back out. It takes about 10 seconds or so. And this one also has a visual aided grip, so you can see it. I'm not going to open this up because you have to keep the inside airtight. Otherwise, you won't have that pneumatic action to mess with it. And then usually I'll seal the barrel threading with some rosin, and that'll help keep it sealed, and it won't allow the grip to undo itself, because you can use silicone grease in a pinch, but silicone grease likes to travel and eventually it'll need to be reapplied, and sometimes the grip can work its way out of the barrel. Then touchdowns are kind of nice. I wish I had an earlier one because they were a little fatter in size and a little more ink capacity. And then you go up to Snorkels. So I got these two in particular. They used to have each other's nibs. This used to be a pastel green Snorkel Valiant, and this used to be a gray Snorkel Statesman. The Statesman had a palladium silver nib with a plastic cap and white dot. It's a Triumph nib. And then the Valiant has a two-tone gold nib. And I actually had to swap these two. And the reason I did it is because I wanted the gold accent not only to match the gold on the cap, but because this is a special snorkel. It has a solid 14 karat gold snorkel tube, whereas most snorkels have a steel snorkel tube. So if I really wanted to, and if I was crazy, I could actually use iron gall ink in the gray one, but I would risk clogging up the snorkel tube, because the snorkels have a skinny little ebonite feeder. It's just a slit of ebonite with a feed line right down the middle. and there's a little slit on top, and that would give the ink to the feed underneath here by capillary action. So this one, you pop that out. You only have to dip the snorkel tube, press down on that, and the tube would suck the ink up into the barrel. And then when you're done, you have to just retract the snorkel tube, and there's no need to wipe it. The first time you fill it, you might have to dip the tip of the nib in so that you can create a capillary connection between the snorkel tube and the feed. And this one, the green one, I'm actually selling right now because I really like the gray one, and I can always pass this along to someone else who can enjoy it. This one has a medium nib, and this one's an extra fine. And last but not least, this is not a PFM. I know some people see this shape and are thinking, oh, is that a pen from men? I wish. This is an Imperial 4. It is a touchdown filler. So just like the early touchdown, you got that. A little slow there. And this has an inlaid 14 karat gold nib, and that's an extra fine point. And tighten that bit down, and just like the other ones, I put some rosin on here to seal that. The snorkels and the later touchdowns can use a PVC sac because they got a metal sac protector, and the connection that the sac connects to is not an early plastic or celluloid. If you try to do that with the touchdown, even though it's got a sac protector, the grip can be damaged by the PVC, and you'll pretty much kind of ruin most of the pen as that plastic starts to break down. But this is a lovely blue color. I do want to get a PFM, but if I do get it, I probably call it a pen for me. They were very gender oriented on the advertising back then. But yep, so these are my Sheaffers. Pretty sure I'm not missing any at the moment. I do have a Sheaffer school pen, but it just kind of sits in a little coffee mug.